This is a segue to a session that I did in Munich, in DrupalCon Munich back in August. I did some updates based on 2 cases that I had a chance to work after that. So that's when I put together, I wanted to really share my experience around working with such organizations and selling Drupal to them and delivering Drupal to large organizations. But as I went through those 2 new cases last year, last 6 months, and also talking to people today, yesterday, throughout the conference, I'm changing the tone a little bit of this presentation to a sense where I think we're comfortable around Drupal in large enterprise. Looks like to some cases, enterprises are coming and asking for Drupal, and I've seen a few. And talking to some people, I noticed that it's happening here too. But I think that's the most important time now, that we don't let our guards lower. So we should be prepared for the competition that is going to come harder, the proprietary CMSs, and continue to sell Drupal to large enterprise the way we've been doing in the past 5 years, right? So I think that's the tipping moment where we should not lower our guards around that. So hopefully we can get the momentum going and continue to increase Drupal into large enterprise. So Mark introduced myself just a little bit more. So Chief Architect with CI&T. I've been working with Drupal for the past almost 5 years now, especially in cases involving digital marketing, which I'm going to be elaborating a little bit more what's that about. So that means I haven't worked so much with the government area, but for large organizations, commercial organizations, and focusing on the final business, the digital marketing websites. So I lead a team of pre-sales engineers, and some contact details later. What I wanted to do basically is to share some details about the cases and scenarios that I have worked in terms of pre-sale for large enterprises, and then encourage you to, especially the ones that are really shops or agencies that are really eager or already selling to large enterprise, to build a strong sales team around Drupal, right? So I will talk about being transparent when doing that, so Drupal strengths and weakness, so your whole sales team needs to be aware of that. It's important to know what the competition is doing. So like I said in the beginning, there's a momentum for us. Drupal is really getting hard or getting bigger in large enterprises. So you would expect competitors would go after us. So I wanted to share things that I've seen happening in terms of what the competition is doing against Drupal, and some things that are more pre-sales one-on-one, and how we can do the basics in pre-selling, and use the community for that. A quick check, who is actually selling Drupal or working as a shop organization for Drupal? Okay, and is there anyone like buying Drupal or, okay. And who is actually selling to large enterprise or had some experience? Okay, that'd be great also to hear you guys throughout the presentation. In the end, I'll be eager to hear your experience as well throughout the presentation. So I don't think I have the audio, but I think my point is basically this. I don't know, this is a BBC video, and I just wanted to run through. So it's basically a fox, and you can find it on YouTube. Just give it a second. With audio is much better. And it gets the mouse. So what's the analogy here, right? Like I said, we're seeing Drupal enterprise coming to us and talk about Drupal, but I still think we should spend energy and investment on keeping the sales force, our sales team, prepared for what could be something like the proprietary companies trying to make us be back and be the mouse, and then they will become the fox. So we don't want to be at that level, right? We want to be the fox instead of the mouse. So that's my provocation here today. So hopefully we can get out of this session with this mindset. A little bit of context, so make things easier for you guys, what I've been doing in my company. So CI&T, like Mark said, a Brazilian company, but we have a global delivery global delivery centers in Brazil, Argentina, and China. We have offices in US, Japan, Europe, And with my move to Australia, that's where we're going to be starting an Australia office as well. We are about 1,600 people. We don't only do Drupal, but we have about 350 talents in Drupal. So that's almost a third, a little bit less, of Drupal developers. So that means a lot. We've been doing Drupal. A big part of our revenue is coming from Drupal. We built about 400, 450 websites to a couple organizations I'm going to be speaking about, and support those sites too. So those cases, unfortunately, I cannot share the names of the companies. I'm sure you guys understand, but you might get it throughout the presentation, or I don't know. But we've been working with 2 global Fortune 100 pharmaceutical enterprise. One Brazilian, but it's more Latin American cosmetics organization, just chose Drupal with our help last year. There was another one that I participated last year in US, which is also a global organization in terms of nutritional products, and also a Japan branch of a global technology research media company, so kind of analysts that are using Drupal too, analyst company. So my company experience comes from those cases, and basically what do they have in common, or do still have some things in common when they felt like they should switch gears and move what they had, even if it was a CMS or just custom code, .NET, or just Java. I guess to some extent they do share some commonalities. Regulated markets, especially the pharmaceutical ones, highly in that case. Almost all of them, they had a presence pulverized across different technologies or platforms across the globe, so it was really hard to maintain that technology farm. Also, localization was a key part of the requirement for those organizations. Some of them, when I got there, they had the proprietary model in mind only, so all the open source was really something that would scare to begin with, so several questions would come around that. From the business side, though, there was the complaint about slow time to market. So using either custom code or using proprietary CMS, either way, they would take a lot of time to implement new features or to customize what the business or the marketing teams they needed. So they always complain about that. And of course, a push for cost reduction.
Point 5, is that just because of a bigger company, every change has to go get a committee to approve it?
Well, that's still part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. But one of the organizations, they really said, well, if it wasn't for Drupal, we wouldn't be able to launch this website in a couple months by just leveraging the modules. So that's the key part. They would just go to proprietary and ask, well, can we build this, or can we get a package? Either they have to pay for that package in the proprietary one, or build their own. And in that case was Java, and it could have difference around which vendor they used. It would take more time to build that custom package. But in a way, they felt the difference with Drupal, and they felt it was easier to go to the market with new features. For example, one particular case was around the integration with Google+. So you could just get the module that was already there by the time it was launched, the integration, right, with Google+. So a couple weeks after Google+ was launched, a beta phase, someone built a module for Google+. In just a couple weeks, you can start using that. So in a proprietary one, maybe you'd still have to ask them to build the package or the library for that. So with all those things combined, they all came to a point where they had to make a decision as an IT group, which the competitors would go straight ahead and pass them on their markets. So they had some challenge. So whether we stay behind or we do things and change and try to get ahead again. And they all ended up using Drupal for that. Another poll, so Dries talked a little bit, so I think I have some backup on Dries this week. But is there anyone that thinks that Drupal is, or the enterprise is not important for Drupal? Okay. So I guess that my question comes from some people that I talk to. It's either they want to stay with the blogging world, or with the mass market, and not worry so much about the enterprise, not spend building modules or concern about security and all the things that enterprise consider important, and keep things around simple or small medium SMBs. I think it's very important. myself, my company, we've learned a lot, work with enterprise and Drupal, and be able to respond to their challenge when it comes to all the requirements that they have, and improving Drupal platform as well. So I think it's important for us to keep going. Like Dries said in the keynote, like I said, he helped with my presentation. So eventually get to Apple, to Amazon. So we should really be aiming high to get those guys. And I think we should always spend or make investments toward that. So it's been a long time now that Drupal is part of the global enterprise level. It's no big news. But like I said in the beginning, I think we should be prepared for that as a sales team. The two cases that I've been part last year, they came really strong against Drupal with arguments I'm going to be elaborating a little bit more. So they really have a very well-prepared sales team. They have demos very well prepared for those organizations. They have certified sales team. They have all this ammunition of artifacts or assets that can just come and try to convince organizations to use. And we're a big community, almost 1 million developers, according to DO. But still, when it comes to sales and even marketing, we kind of try to do the job ourselves, but on our own, right? There's no centralized, although a few things, but there are no centralized efforts in terms of marketing and selling Drupal. So I think that's something that we should be focusing on this year, next couple of years. Because what we've been working so far might not work in the past. Remember Dries talking about web experience management, right? So that's a new thing, came in the market, but also being funded by those proprietary enterprises, proprietary CMSs, to try to bring everything into one product, and that would go against, or would go to some extent against what Drupal is, right? You would have to combine products. So Adobe, Sitecore, Oracle, they're all putting together, acquiring companies and putting together several products and trying to convince organizations with this new approach, web experience management, right? So it's not working. The way we used to sell Drupal to those organizations is not working. It's not that easy anymore. And it could be unfair sometimes, like I said. So I think we should try and spend our energy on that area too. Not only development, not only support, but really think about marketing and sales. And that's where I wanted to spend spend some time on that, which is basically the strengths, look at the competitors are doing, and training your sales team. The first thing is about Drupal's strengths and weakness at the enterprise level. So I think it's key for us, especially if you have not worked with enterprise before, understand what are the difference between SMBs and enterprise. What are the type of requirements that you might be faced with when it comes to participating in a bid for an enterprise. There's some debate about what could be a large enterprise. To the purpose of this session, I'm going to be defining some requirements that to some extent, again, might match some of the cases that you guys have. At least we know what is not, so it's definitely not the small shops that are just looking for a simple site, so at least we know what is not, but sometimes there's some confusion about what is a large enterprise, right? We have some public cases that I wanted to share just to illustrate, and plus the ones that I cannot share. But basically what is involved, so proprietary software model mindset, right? So that's one key thing that we as a Salesforce team or a Drupal sales team got to be prepared. We might be facing that. There are several system integration points. So you're not just talking about a simple website that is going to be out there and not communicating with different systems, right? There's much more involved. You've got to be prepared to answer questions about integration with CRMs and different components. We might be talking about Fortune 500 companies, so companies that are global. Their presence is global. They are in the revenues of, I don't know, more than $4 or $5 billion a year. So that's the type of organization I'll be talking about today. They don't have just one major website. I'll talk about dozens or even hundreds of websites. The two pharma companies, they are really on the hundreds of websites around. I was in the other presentation about migrating large-scale Drupal. So several groups involved, so they mentioned about that too. So we're not dealing with just one single product owner, although sometimes you get that lucky, but still there's too many groups involved to make that happen. So how you as an organization that is proposing Drupal for that enterprise, how can you be prepared to deal with different layers, different roles within that organization? Global reach, said, regulated industry, and the cost reduction as at the beginning. So I think the first thing that we need to do is to be prepared for those challenges. So we got to be able to answer things about performance in Drupal, right? Multiple sites management. So again, the proprietary CMS, they have all those answers. So how we as a Drupal sales team can answer that right off the bat or show them, right? What are the options that we have in Drupal? What is the best practice around multiple site or multi-site management? The best tools for localization or internationalization as well. How we can show them that Drupal really satisfies those requirements for a global organization. Then when it comes to implementation of Drupal, I think there was a talk about Drupal and using Agile. So how does that affect my delivery process, my delivery method as well? Using Agile and using Drupal, does that change anything, what I'm used to? Are you able to follow my SDLC process as well? Single sign-on, so there are a lot of requirements about single sign-on. Usually those organizations will try to, for example, the pharma ones, they'll have portals for healthcare practitioners, healthcare providers. So they just want one central point, but different websites, right? Single sign-on is key. And Drupal has some capabilities on that, but still, there are partnerships that we can do and use different products. Integration, support. Well, I'm going to be talking more in detail. So one of the first things is I have one person that I call in this proprietary CMS when I need help. But what about Drupal? It's the Wild West. It's just the community. Who is responsible for that? So you've got to be prepared to answer those questions. Hosting, security, and analytics. So how we can show Drupal that Drupal connected with other components can actually satisfy those requirements. So I think the next thing is to master what Drupal has to offer, right? I'm sure you guys have more here. I brought a couple of things that I think have been differential or have stand out to those sales engagements that I had last year to the enterprise world. And it's really key, have been really key to make Drupal a success. So I think the first one is flexibility. When I was able to demonstrate Drupal to them about the flexibility they would have to a point where Drupal in one farm organization is actually different from their competitor, which those two companies actually compete against each other, of course. So it's something that really stands out. I'm sure the proprietary ones you can actually customize as well, but I really believe the Drupal, the level that you can go with that, you can really make the platform mingle in the enterprise world and really become their platform without, of course, hacking the core. But I think flexibility is one of the key arguments to demonstrate to those organizations during the sales pitch. The second one, which ties back to our question, I guess, is innovation rate. So you are not relying on just that vendor, the proprietary CMS vendor. You are relying on a lot of people using that across the globe. So you're getting diversity, you're getting innovation quite faster when compared to this monolithic, big global proprietary CMS organization, right? So I think it's especially to the marketing teams. IT is very concerned about this, but when it comes to the marketing teams, they really like this, to see they're getting content, they're getting features built by different organizations across the globe, right? It's not only Oracle, it's not only Sitecore, not only that organization without too much diversity. They're getting experience. We're getting, as a Drupal community, we're getting experience across the globe, different scenarios, and that's really key as well. So those are the two things that I think really help Drupal standing out for the sales pitch. But I think we got to be honest and transparent. I think it's one of the, talking this morning, one of the key things about us as a Drupal community. We're very transparent on what we do and how we do things. So you wouldn't hear, I guess, proprietary CMS talking about their weaknesses or their flawless. So, but we gotta be able to talk about during the sales pitch as well. and I have a few here that I've been challenged last year. And I think we just don't show it as a flawless or an issue, but you just show how things are getting fixed or how things are getting better, right? So one of the things I'm saying over and over, Dries mentioned that, other sessions mentioned that, is about the authoring. Those organizations, when I started with one of them 5 years ago, the marketing team, they wouldn't want to actually do the content change. They would rely to us as a vendor or to a different department that was more technical. That has changed quite a lot throughout the years. But the organization has chosen Drupal 5 years ago and has done nothing to improve this experience. So we had a bit of a challenge trying to go after the implementation of better interface for the content editors, right? Still not that perfect. Still there's some investment that needs to be done. But I think the key part here for new sales is really to look at the Spark project, is to look at what is being done in terms of improving the sales, the content authoring experience. When you see other products, they have inline editing for a long time now. And finally, we're getting that in Drupal. So that was one of the key things that I've seen happening that would go against Drupal. So I think we should be prepared to show that this is going to be, or it's already being tackled. The second thing, which is kind of related to the content staging, so the ability to preview is not one of the strongest part in Drupal. Again, looking at other proprietary softwares, and again, if you guys have more experience, just shout out. But you would have the preview, so you would do the content change in staging. You could preview the whole thing in context. In Drupal, at least last time I checked, we cannot do that so perfectly yet. So we still have no way to see the whole page within the website unless you do the whole staging and production, right? But how can I do the production change and actually see things in production in the context of the website? If I have a pop-up window or a layover, how can I actually see that? It's not that simple right now. So the content stage initiative is trying to tackle some of that and improve. And I think this one is being financed by the large-scale Drupal, which I'm going to be talking very soon. Content management, configuration management initiative as well. So the whole deployment, again, when I went over there and there was someone that heard about Drupal, they would come with those points. The preview, authoring, and the ability for smoother deployments, right? Again, the other platforms, they would have a simple way, just one straightforward way of pushing content configuration from different environments to production. We still struggle a little bit, but there's a lot of things happening starting with the configuration management, so that will make things much easier for that. So be aware of that and bring up during the sales pitch, and of course show them. The next one is really learn what the competitors are doing. I guess I could feel that I couldn't actually talk to the competitor and see their actions around this. But when I was listening to the customer doing the sales pitch and he was choosing between this or Drupal, I would get the sense of those things, especially around FUDs, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that is still, you might think that should be past or way behind us, still going to face some of them. There's still some guys that were part of the whole Microsoft thing 10, 15 years ago, and I faced down in Brazil last year, and one of the first questions was around security with open source, right? So the point that I showed him is to talk to security specialized organizations. It's basically just a regular concern. So you gotta do your homework. You still gotta have your team that's gonna be doing the tests and validation of websites, regardless if it's Drupal, if it's a proprietary CMS. You're still changing code. It's a web application at the end of the day. So you still gotta do your homework, right? So this is really a myth that we gotta be prepared to mitigate. Again, US, I'm not seeing that so much. I don't know, Europe, I haven't heard, but in Brazil, I don't know here, there's still guys that would think that, well, open source, security, Drupal, and there's also the whole security committee, right? We gotta be able to explain how this works and how you as a vendor or as an agency can actually apply the patches and actually be part of your process of the governance of the platform, right? So be prepared that it might come as one of the myths. Support. So the same organization, the Latin America Cosmetics, they said, well, you know what, I can just call this guy in this organization, and he's going to fix whatever is failing within the whole platform. If it's the website, if it's the CRM, if it's the other component underneath it, he's going to fix because it's just one, it's everything with him. So I'm very comfortable with that. Well, he got a point to some extent, I think. He just have to call one person compared to this scenario where, well, there's something wrong with the website, and this website integrates with this ESB or another tool. So I got to bring both vendors or 3 vendors on a call and try to fix that. So things might get a little bit hairy or messy. But I like to show, what I usually do, I show an innovation fostering scenario. So that's more one focal point, right? Or just one support. He would handle the whole thing in red. But when I'm pitching Drupal, I try to bring in a way that you're going to be able to bring more innovation to the organization, more diversity again. Just sticking with one organization, you are kind of locked to whatever the rate of innovation is, whatever they're going to be bringing to you. You're not going to be fostering discussions or things that can be improved in your organization. So I show something like this, right? So yeah, the organization, yeah, they can still do all the other components. We don't want to conquer the world, don't want to do everything, although a few things, yes, we want to do. But yeah, we can live with that. And you know what? By the time we get on a call to improve our platform, we're going to be getting feedback from different perspectives. We're going to be getting feedback from us as a Drupal, and we have been working with different organizations. We have the community. And yes, we're going to be also be getting feedback from your current vendor, whatever best practice he's suggesting. And then you get the best out of it, out of the 2 vendors. So for support, that's what I tend to move the discussion around. Has been very beneficial to them. And rest assured, I guess, the thing that also comes is around there's no support, it's just open source. Who's supporting this? Who's behind this code, right? So then you have to go and tell about the open source, how it works, how the Drupal community works. But rest assured, you're not going to be locked in. So the whole vendor lock-in, that's one of the things that I use. You're not going to be locked in with CI&T. You can actually go to another vendor. There's plenty of vendors that can actually help you with that. So, and we're just growing and growing. So this is also key to bring to them. Again, around transparency, so that's very important. Performance, I guess this has to do with some Drupal cases that haven't been so successful, right? So that gets out there, people will know about it. And I like to think that performance is well under control in terms of Drupal, as long as you, of course, you use the right add-ons. So there's plenty of components that you can use, and you should bring that even in the sales pitch, especially, of course, if you face that question. Well, I heard that Drupal is low. Drupal is just bringing my site down, so I don't want to use it. One of the key things that I also say is that maybe what you heard was because Drupal was not the right tool for the right job. You try to build Facebook maybe with Drupal. Yes, can be done, but you might think about what you want to achieve in the end of the day, right? Yes, you can build Facebook with those components as well, but then the impression was out there already, right? So you gotta show that it's not like that. The other thing that I heard was, well, you know what, with proprietary vendors, I can just call them, and because I'm paying, I can try and influence what's going to come in the next build, right? Depends, of course, the organization, how much power they have with that, how much they're paying for license fees, etc. But somehow they have some feeling that they can influence more on the proprietary world. And here, how would they do that to influence Drupal 7, Drupal 8? How they can do that, right? I guess we have to use the community. We have to go back and talk about how the organization should be part of the community, should try and foster that, should have not only the vendors, but their IT team also being part of the community so they can see what's going on and really feel how they can actually be part of this ecosystem. So that's one important thing. And I'm happy to see that this one I just used one time. There's just one organization that is part of it, but the large-scale Drupal, I think everyone or most of you guys know what it is, but something that I think is founded by Acquia, and this organization, this pharma company, is actually part of it and is contributing with basically money. to make investments, but across different groups. So that's how it works. And then they can focus on particular features that they need that are very common to them. So I think the first thing that came out of it was related to content staging. So they built quite a few modules, and it's going to come back to the community, right? So they have a roadmap. They get together every month. So like the IT directors of the organization that are part of the group. So for large enterprises, I think this is key. For a very small amount of money compared to, I think, for the license fees, you can actually join a special group of corporations that might have the similar pain points that you have, leveraging Drupal, and you can actually do it better by sharing the resources and financing. So I brought this, and a couple months after, they chose Drupal, they joined the group, and are still investing on that. So this is a very good point. Drupal talent, we all keep hearing about this. My personal feel, and working with my developers in Brazil, is that it's getting better. So yes, it's true, still have a shortage, but there are a bunch of things happening around that, and I think the global training days, I think last year was the first year that we did, as an association did. So I think that's going to be key if we continue to participate. I don't know if you guys had a chance to join that. I really recommend you try to put together, even if it's just the What is Drupal course, it's just a couple of hours in the morning, but try to help with that. It's going to be very important. And again, they're going to be bringing this into the sales pitch. Universities, so there's some working happening in trying to put Drupal as part of curriculum universities. So that's also something that can be bought. Training companies, I see every now and then more training companies spinning up. And I think I just added about Dries, he mentioned about the Symfony. So I think in Drupal 8, things are going to tend to be a little bit easier to bring new developers and get away from the Drupalisms that we have in the other versions of Drupal. So the other thing is web experience management. So I told you that I do see as a trend in the market, but I also sometimes get the feeling that it has somehow been fabricated by those proprietary ones. But still, it does make a lot of sense to the topics that are being brought to this. Marketers are really needing this. So I think we got to be prepared to answer the questions, how Drupal can support my web experience management, right? Especially if you luckily get access to the marketers, which I don't usually get to. It's just the IT or the group between IT and marketing. But this talk will definitely come. And it involves basically being worried about how we're building the brand, right? So as an IT organization, as an IT vendor, we got to be prepared to really be worried about what does that mean to build this website in Drupal? How can I actually help you, the brand, to achieve your goals, right? So Dries mentioned the keynote about commerce, content, and community. There are some pillars that you can deep dive on the web experience management, but it all basically goes back to conversational engagement, being able to create a community and then listen to that community so we can go back to our brand. So what are the tools that, along with Drupal, we can help marketers listen to their consumers and then adapt around that? So how the brand can improve their conversational engagement. Demand generation, how I can actually email newsletters, for example. So how I can be more proactive and be more personalized around generating more demand. How does Drupal can help with that? Does we need to bring another tool for that? Maybe, right? But we got to be able to show that Drupal can actually connect to the tool, to email newsletters, or even to ads, right, for advertisement. So what are the tools that can help Drupal be better at demand generation? Content optimization, so analytics, SEO. What are the tools, if not just Drupal, that can help, again, the brands achieve the content optimization? And multi-channel management. I get over and over, everyone is talking about this. Not just mobile. It's not just the desktop site. We're talking about mobile apps, and pushing content to the social media as well. So that's very high level, but that's the web experience management, right? So that's, if you look at the proprietary CMS website, you're going to see a product that's basically something around those lines. You're going to be covering the whole thing, your whole ecosystem. Marketer, I'm covering everything for you. And what about us as Drupal? How we can cover that, right? And lastly, as the part of the 3 points, is let's focus on our pre-sales one-on-one. Let's try to empower our sales team and leverage the community to make it better. So one of the things I think I saw in the business day, and we use quite a lot, is requirement score matrix. So there's no standard one, although several requirements might be the same, but it's really something that it can help the organization and build together with them. What are the most important requirements for you when you're choosing a CMS? And it's not only for you as an IT, you've got to bring the marketer, the final consumer of the solution you're putting out there, and then put some value out of it. So it's not just listing out the requirements, but trying to put what is the value that, how much does this represent to you? Because then, if it's not so much, Drupal can really stand out, or the other solution will stand out. But anyways, you're being transparent and honest about that. So I really recommend having a template. I can even share this one later with you guys. But if they don't have one, work with them in the very beginning of this assessment and put together something that is very customizable to them. And well, there's a risk that, of course, they might choose the other CMS. But you know what? It is what it is, right? But at least we're being transparent and honest and being able to maximize what Drupal can actually do for them. It's very straightforward. I've been through 2 scenarios like this. One spreadsheet was prepared by an analyst firm. So they helped the organization put together a spreadsheet. So you can tell some particularities around that, and you can tell, for example, when the person was used to work with another CMS, in that case was SharePoint. So the spreadsheet was created towards requirements that only SharePoint could satisfy to some extent. So I was able to just, oh, let's talk about this. You know what? This is SharePoint. If you look at the other CMS, they're not going to be supporting this. So just be prepared for that. I guess what I also realized when they come to ask for help on choosing a platform is that it's not only the technical platform. There's also something happening between the marketing and the IT. They're not talking as they should. The communication is not as smooth as possible. They have different goals. Some of we can see here. And IT has its own goals as well. Might not be supporting only the marketers, but be supporting different organizations within the enterprise. So I guess what's very important for us when we're pitching that is also to understand what is this business gap, right? How we can fit in the middle here and complement those 2 organizations, right? So I guess it's not only the platform, but being able to understand what is the traction that is going on, the friction that is going on between the 2 groups. That really has been helpful for us to go one step ahead, not the technology, but being able to understand what is happening in the organization. Again, all the challenges around different groups, they're big. You don't get that answer just in the first week. So you got to be prepared to spend some time with your sales team, finding out, interviewing, getting to know, connecting to different people in the organization, and eventually you connect the dots. Then you set up the session to have everyone. Let's talk about Drupal and how Drupal can help both of your organizations within the enterprise. I think that's very key as well. And this one was just December, yeah. I was surprised to hear, so of course organizations, they hire those companies to advise them, especially in such a critical moment, right? So we should not be naive. They're not just listening to us, Drupal, and to the proprietary ones. They're also looking for someone that might be in the middle, right? So I had a chance to go through this scenario where they hired the company the analyst company to help them make a decision. And there was, the organization, the analyst firm tend not to benefit Drupal. So they would bring things around TCO even for Drupal. And I really recommend we also try, if you guys have capability to try and work with those analysts. There are ways you can work with that, can influence that as well. But most importantly, being transparent. So if you have access to analysts and you can show off your case in Drupal, please do it. So they have the perception that Drupal is getting some friction on some issues in some areas on the web experience management. So by the time they go to recommend Drupal, is really not going to help. So if we can try to work on that area too, if you have the capacity to do so, I really recommend. So right now we're trying to have schedule meetings with specific analysts about CMS throughout the year, so we can show them the cases that we've been doing in Drupal and how our customers are benefiting from that. It's just being honest and transparent, right? But sometimes it's really hard to find, just Google and try to find success cases in Drupal that really can touch on the mind of those guys. So I really recommend, if you have capabilities, try to influence such organizations as well. Lastly, I guess it's try to build the best strategy for a sales team, right? So it's a process. It's not going to take a couple weeks or months. The last one took me 12 months from the time I was called for the first presentation until I get an SOW signed. So be prepared to spend some time, and the better you were prepared, the more you were prepared, the better, right? So one of the things about was key for us is by the time we're there, they wanted to see a Drupal running, and I Googled around, I searched around, I didn't find a demo that could really satisfy what they wanted to see. Although you can show what's out there, but it's really, my recommendation is to, somewhere back there, try to customize. So that was really successful. We had of course, you have to map your resource, but we had the chance to actually get 3 developers for 1 week, get a few use cases of a website that's live out there for the organization, and we built those features in Drupal and did a demo. So we get all the assets from the site, we build the website and show them in just 1 week and a half. That was key for them to all. And then also show the CMS. Although we couldn't work out the interface the way we wanted, but we could show, well, you can change content, just you here, and then you have access, you have permission, you have logs, you have track of what's going on. So I really recommend, when going after enterprises, be prepared to save some time, some resources to actually build a more customized demo. Generic ones are not going to be touching upon what the marketer has in mind. He wants to see his problem being solved by that, right? So that was very key. Lastly, I keep saying lastly, I guess, but also team up. Even us, although I said 300 talents, you know what? There are skills that we don't have. Even the web experience manager, there are components that we just don't know how to answer some questions. So there's a couple scenarios last year. So we brought one of our partners to complement our offer, and we work on the pitch process together. So this is really key. I guess it goes along with the whole community, and I really recommend. So if you're going after those giants and you have the opportunity to bring someone else with you, I'm sure there's space for everyone within that organization. So I really recommend doing a partnership and working together on pre-sales for those organizations. And I might be getting to the lastly part finally. Know when to give up. One of the things, and I said it before, is around trying to force the customer to use the tool. Again, we have our ego very, very big, and we want Drupal to really can do anything, everything. But I'm a stronger believer on the right tool for the right job, right? So try to build an LMS, or try to build something on top of Drupal. Yes, we know it can be done, but you have to be transparent and just say, you know what, you're better off just buy this because you want to build such a specific solution. So many business rules. We're gonna have to customize so many Drupal modules to do that. You're better off buy that solution and then let's use Drupal for something else, right? So that's my recommendation as well. And I don't think I think that doesn't help Drupal at all. So those are the cases that we hear Drupal was not successful, and then so I really recommend, let's be transparent. If it's failing on there, Drupal's really not getting no score at all. Just be honest, and you're gonna get a customer eventually. So just be transparent. I think I'm good. Guys, that's pretty much it. Kind of a little bit boring, but for a Friday afternoon. But I wanted to share that experience. And my recommendation is try to really empower your sales team, invest on that, Again, things that I heard this week, I think we're in a comfort zone. Customers are coming and asking for Drupal, but it might not last that long, and I'm sure the proprietary ones, they will come more strong. So I'd rather be prepared for that. And we have a huge sales team. We're able to do marvelous things as long as we get prepared for it, right? And my last point is to go back to this, right? What would we rather be? So right now I think we're the fox, but I want to continue to be the fox. So hopefully we will continue investing in our sales team. We continue to be and growing the way we are right now. And that's pretty much it. I don't know, any questions? Yep.
One of the key things, obviously, large enterprise are looking at reliability and stability. So what are the key factors for you in evaluating the modules that you will use within a system? What sort of process do you go through to evaluate what you're going to use?
So to that point, first we try to implement a governance module. So should I repeat the question, right? So what are the processes or how we can assure the reliability of the modules being chosen by the corporation, right? So when we get in, first thing is let's put a governance process in place for the modules. We don't want developers to just go and choose whatever they want, right? So for organizations, although the whole time to market, it might be slowing down things, I think it's very important, especially if we're talking global scale, different vendors working with the code. So we got to have a very strong process in place. So for the two pharma ones, they do have a very strong, so every time a developer suggests a new module, it has to go to some sort of approval to use that. So try to get that ahead during the grooming of the sprint. So based on the requirements, try to identify which module will best suit that particular requirement and submit for approval. Usually it takes a couple of days, and then they allow it. And of course, try to use maybe just beta or ready for production released versions. Although alpha also sometimes they would allow it, and then we would implement or fix the bugs and eventually help move to the next level. But I guess the very short answer is have a strong governance process.
And just leading on from that, have there been any examples where you've gone through that process but then actually realized that the module is not up to scratch?
No. It was. I don't recall any case. Yeah, I mean, first developers are actually assessing that before submitting, and then there's their internal committee that's actually reviewing. So for that particular requirement, it's basically supporting what they want, and then there's security involved as well. That's part of the governance.
Do you have like a pre-approved list of where you audited the security or stuff like that? Where you know that module's good, so you don't have to go through the whole process each time.
You mean like a checklist of?
Well, but basically a list of modules that you would go to that you know doesn't have any security issues.
I don't have it handy right now, but those customers, that's what they call once they establish the governance process, they create what they call the platform, their own platform. So a platform is basically a set of Drupal modules that should be reused across all the sites being implemented. So to get a new module into that platform has to go to that process, and then it will be blessed and be able to be used by them across the globe.
Are you ever afraid that we are going to enterprise? And by to enterprise, what I mean is the reason why we've been so successful, and you can pick your we as a community or we as a company or whatever, is that we do things differently. Because traditional enterprises do a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, and traditional like proprietary vendors do stuff to please these enterprises that makes absolutely no sense. And I sometimes I feel like we are now just climbing into the same hole just because everybody else doing it, and I'm afraid we are going too far sometimes. So have you any experiences in that, nightmares?
In the beginning, when I started working with Drupal, yes, you know what, and I don't see that happening much right now. I feel like the IT groups in the large enterprise slowly are getting up to speed with the innovation with looking what SMBs are doing and trying to bring that to the enterprise. So the cool stuff that are happening out there, they wanted to bring. It's not as fast as an SMB, but I feel like they're trying to change the mindset and instead of trying to do things the same way again, trying to leverage what has been done in startups and in small companies. And we're seeing a lot of startups becoming enterprise just in a couple of years, right? So they're getting that experience and trying to bring into their process of creating new websites or new requirements. So it's getting better. In the past 5 years, changed a lot, but it's not that fast.
So I'm working in an enterprise where we've had Drupal for the last 4 years and been quite successful in, I guess, pushing Drupal throughout the whole group. And it's a fairly large install base. But I agree with a lot of the things you said on there, including the web experience management aspect of that now, and that's where we get a lot of pressure, to the point where they're even questioning whether Drupal's the right platform still. Do you have any comparisons between the proprietary ones like Adobe and Sitecore against Drupal?
They basically came with the whole analytics was very key. So for example, I think Adobe Omniture, so they just come with the pitch where, well, it's everything fairly integrated. It's just as easy to create a new website. Omniture just worked fine over there. So that was one of the key things that I heard. But then I would go with, you know what, you can either use Omniture, there's a module for that in Drupal, or you can use Google Analytics, or you can use Core Metrics, for example. So that's that battle I've been through. That was one of the things. Apart from that, no.
Omniture actually works quite well. So we integrate that fully into Drupal, so that works very well, Site Catalyst and all of that. I think CQ5 allowing the personalization and user management and customer management, those kind of aspects where Drupal's a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah. Or at least you need more configuration to do it, right? So you can do a few things with views and roles in terms of personalization. There's more you can code on top of it. But I think they come with everything ready and they show it. And whereas us, we just have to build and show them. So it takes us more time to actually show what they want in terms of web experience management. I guess that's one of the key things.
It's like, do you create an enterprise profile almost, and then you just show them that? So it's kind of all packaged up.
I'm not at that level, but that's a good idea. Ideally, especially when it comes to web experience management. I mean, we're seeing companies, so we're not a product company, but we're seeing like Acquia is doing something very similar to that, building an ecosystem around one product and just bringing components. But yeah, ideally, that will make things just at the same level as the proprietary ones are doing. Yeah. I don't do that. What I do is basically demos try to bring the requirements, but ideally that's where we want to be, or to be able to knowing those components. Like I think there's a bunch of companies here this week that offer service of translation, for example, and there's a module to connect with Drupal. So we knowing that we don't actually have to build something, but actually show that those things can work together, and then bundle in and sell. Both. We're doing both. So we have to be proactive. So as we start building those cases, definitely that helps us as well to position ourselves as supporting service to large organizations. But especially as being a Brazilian company, we're not so famous in US or Europe, so we have to do some proactive work. But there has been scenarios where they would just come and ask for Drupal service because they saw it. So all the things that we've been doing out there in the community. And unfortunately, we cannot share those cases, but somehow they get to know. There is, of course, word of mouth. So as we continue building new cases, that eventually will help us. Yeah.
Any other?
Did you mention that you and Two were moving to Australia?
Yes.
Whereabouts will that be, and is there going to be an office for the business there?
The office is going to be my place in the beginning, of course, as usual. But yeah, eventually we're going to be Sydney. Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, that's things started over there. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. You'll have to catch your mind.
Okay. There you go.
My only question is, if you want to be the fox, do you have to get a face full of snow? That was fantastic. Look, could you please join me thanking Philippe Ribim? Yep. Yep. So feedback and slides. Slides will be available. I think your slide is available already on the site and everything, so you can get that there. The audio transcript together with the PowerPoint will be available in a video on the page, just like every page. And please, we'd appreciate your feedback on the session. It would be wonderful, as per usual, and on all the other sessions as well. It goes back into a feedback loop, so the DA sort of can improve the event even more in the future.